Namaste. Welcome to this short video on temples of Pakistan. When we are going to speak about temples of Pakistan, we must first define the meaning of these two words, Pakistan and temple. So here we go into the 19th century, and this was the time when the British were expanding their empire, the Russians were expanding their empire. Russia had already gained the control of some of the Central Asian areas, and this competition between Russia and England was called as the Great Game. To avoid a clash between the Russians and the British, what they did was they signed this treaty and drew a line which is called as the Anglo-Russian Line in 1885. And this was the boundary which defined that the British will not cross, neither the Russians will cross. This boundary became the Afghanistan's northern border in the later times. Soon after that, British fought a couple of wars with the Afghans, and to end those wars, they drew this another line called as the Durant Line in 1893. By drawing this line, Kabul and the area of Gandhar was broken from India for the first time. Until now, many of the empires of India included Kabul in their kingdom. In 1947, as we all know, India gained independence and also the partition during that time. The partition was defined by the Radcliffe Line, and this Radcliffe Line defines the birth of Pakistan. So now if we are to ask, what is Pakistan? Pakistan is the land between the Durand Line and the Radcliffe Line. Pakistan's borders are these artificial lines which were drawn not by the Afghani, not by the Pakhtuni, not by the Sindhi, Punjabi or the Rajasthani people, but these lines were drawn by the British. These lines are not along any geographical milestones. These lines are not any natural borders, and neither are these lines cultural borders. These lines are artificial, and thus the state of Pakistan is an artificial country created with artificial lines by foreigners. Now we try to define what is a temple. Temple serves many purposes. It's a spiritual center, obviously, because all bhajan, pathan, and home yajna, all these happen at temple. It's a cultural center where dramas and music and dance programs are held. It gave a platform to artists. It's a community center where pathshalas were run. It also provided shelter to any person who could simply go to a temple and stay there for the night. So it was a shelter giving place and a food providing place. For sure, any person knew that he wouldn't sleep hungry if he is able to go to a temple. And temple is also an economic center. We'll just take a look at the economy side of a temple. People from every area of the society were connected to the temple. Many people, there were artists and artisans and people who did handicraft, people who are artists like dancers and singers, people like people who do sculptures, people who do paintings, people who run the business of flowers, people who light the diyas at a temple. Many people were connected to a temple. And one temple actually means it is providing food to hundreds of people and hundreds of families and thousands of people. If we have to define a temple, I take help of Gyaneshwar. He says in Dhaneshwari, जैसे बिंब तेरी बेच के बढ़े परी प्रकाशा त्रैलोक्य थोकडे मंदिराची व्याप्ती तेणे पाडे अनुभवावी. Dhaneshwar actually says Shabdachi Vyapti, but I'm using Mandirachi Vyapti. What he says is the sun, it looks so small in the sky, and yet the whole universe is not sufficient for the light of sun. Similarly, when we look at a temple, it is very small. How we can define a temple? We can just define a temple saying, like, it is on 1 acre of land and such material is used for it. This is the plan of the temple. It has these, towers. It has these Deepastambha and Dhwajastambha in its courtyard. And all these things, the material things, we can tell about a temple. But we can not absolutely tell the impact that the temple had on its geography. And one example of this is the temple of Pandharpur. This temple has been there for more than 1,000 years, and the kind of saints that these temple has created, the kind of teaching that these saints have given, the poetry that they have written, the wari which goes there year after year, and the kind of support that this temple gives to the people is uh, is something which cannot be counted. So when we are going to look at the temples of Pakistan, we must understand that what we are going to look at is only the material side of the temple. We simply cannot tell how these temples affected the people of Pakistan in the earlier times. So Pakistan is basically consists of 4 states. Gandhar, which is Gandhar that is written over here, is the northwest frontier of Pakistan. Then there is Punjab, Sindh, and Balochistan. We'll first take a look at the Buddhist temples of Pakistan. In the 1st century BCE, many stupas were built in Pakistan. Basically, they were built in Gandhar, the province of Gandhar. Here we see the double-headed eagle stup from Sirkap, which is very near Takshishila. Here is a stup from Takshishila, the Dharmarajika stup. Even in its ruins, we can imagine how huge this must have been. There was another stup in, this was built by Kanishka, and it is famously called as the Shahji Ki Dheri. And you can see the plan. It had a square plan, a stup in the middle, and probably it had 4 pillars at 4 corners. We can see the model of this stupa depicted in some of the reliefs in Gandhar. So we see a stup at the center and 4 pillars around it. We'll take a look at the Jain temples. Jain temples are also from a very old time. There are some ruins at Takshashila which are considered to be a Jain stup. There is also a ancient Jain temple, and throughout Pakistan there are many Jain temples. So here is one temple from Multan. This is of the Shwetambar Pantha of the Jainas, and you can see the ceiling of this temple. Here is another temple, Jain temple from Sindh, and one more Jain temple from Sindh. A quick look at the Sikh temples. This one is the place where Guru Nanak was born. This is called as the Nanakana Gurudwara, and it is near Lahore. This is the Panja Sahib Gurudwara. This is near Takshishila, and the Sikh believe that the imprint of a hand in this Gurudwara belongs to Guru Nanak, and hence it is called as the Panja Sahib Gurudwara. This is also a very important site for the Sikh. And And this is the Kartarpur Darbar Gurudwara. This is the place where Guru Nanak died, and hence this is also a very important place of worship for the Sikh. Very recently, the Kartarpur corridor has been opened, which will allow the Sikh followers to go to this place without a visa. Now we'll take a look at the Hindu temples. The first one is the Aditya Mandir of Multan. This slide is blank because there is no remnant of this temple today. We know about Aditya Temple from various sources like the Samba Puran and from the records of Xuanzang. This was a temple that was built by the grandson of Krishna called Sam. Sam was suffering from some skin disease and he was told to worship sun god. So he worshipped sun god for some time, and because of probably because of all the uh, vitamin D and all those things in the sunlight, uh, his skin disease was treated. And then Sam built a temple of sun at Multan. This temple was a huge temple and a beautiful temple and a very rich temple. People from all the corners visited this temple. They walked for months to reach Multan and visit this temple. And it was very rich. We can imagine how rich it was based on the treasures which were found in the Padmanath temple or based on the Tirupati Balaji temple that we see today. Sometime in 8th, 9th century, the Arabs conquered Multan and they held this idol of sun god as a hostage. Anytime any Hindu king attacked Multan, they used to threaten that they would, destroy the idol of sun god. And with just that hostage, they were able to keep Multan for themselves. When Raja Ranjit Singh got won Multan, he did not find Aditya temple over there. It was completely destroyed. Multan is famous for another temple, which was built by Bhakta Prahlad, and it is believed that Hiranyakashipu was ruling this place, Multan, and his son Prahlad was Vishnu Bhakta, and Hiranyakashipu was very angry at Prahlad for this. He tried to kill Prahlad, and then at some point of time, Narsimha, avatar of Vishnu, he came from a pillar and he killed Hiranyakashipu and saved Prahlad. So after this incident, it is said that Prahlad built a temple of Narsimha in Multan. This is the status of the Narsimha temple today. In 1947, with the partition, some of the devotees took this idol of Narsimha to Haridwar, and this idol of Narsimha is today in one of the temples at Haridwar. And after the demolition of Babri Masjid in 1992, mobs in Pakistan destroyed many temples, and this is one of them. We will now take a look at the temples that were built by the Hindu Shahi kings. The Hindu Shahi dynasty ruled the areas of Kabul, Lahore, Peshawar for many centuries. And between 5th and 8th century, they built many temples. This is one of them. The problem is we cannot tell this temple was built for which god or goddess, because all that remains there are just the ruins. There are no idols in these temples, so we just have to guess whose temple it was. So on a fort, because this fort belonged to Hindus, it is called as the Kafir Fort. That is the name which sticks till today. And these are some of the temples on Kafir Fort, built by the Hindu Shahi kings. This is a close-up. These are the Belur temples built by Hindu Shahi kings Til and Bil. Here is another temple, actually multiple temples that were built by the Hindu Shahis at Malur. The Amba Sharif temples, very beautiful temples, but again we cannot tell which god or goddess resided here. Here is a temple at Attock, built by a Hindu Shahi king called Kalar. After the Hindu Shahi period, in probably around the 10th century, Gorakhnath of the Nath Sampradaya was a very famous saint, and he had a mutt over here in Punjab. This is called as a Tilla Jogia because many yogis, Nath Panthi sadhus, they used to live over here and they did tapasya. Even Guru Nanak lived over here for a couple of years doing tapasya. So the Stilla Jogia is a very, what do you say, a very pure shrine because of all these yogis and all these sadhus who had lived there. Post partition, this seat was moved to Ambala in India, and it was abandoned in 1947. And this is also another place which was destroyed by Pakistani Islamic mobs after 1992. Gorakhnath had his followers all over India and even in Pakistan. So we see followers of Gorakhnath in Punjab, in Sindh, in Peshawar, and even in Kabul, Jalalabad as well. So in Peshawar, this is a small temple of Gorakhnath that exists till today. We come to Takshishila. This is a city which was built by the son of Bharat from Ramayana. And Bharat had two sons, Taksha and Pushkal. Taksha built this city of Takshashila. Also, the Sarpasatra of Mahabharata, it took place at Takshashila. And it is believed that the first recitation of Mahabharata took place over here. In Pakistan occupied Jammu, there is this Mirpur Dam, which was built in 1960s, and many temples got submerged in the waters. Whenever the water recedes, these temples come up. This is one of those temples in the Mangal Dam. This is the Bansi Mandir of Lahore. From name, it seems to be the temple of Krishna. Lahore is a beautiful place, and ask any Punjabi, they will say Lahore nahi dekha to kuch bhi nahi dekha. So the temple of Lahore. Here is another photograph of Ratan Chand Mandir. This is from 1910. A beautiful temple. Again, as with other temples, many of these temples are known only by their place, the bazaar where they are. We don't know exactly whose temple it is. Here is a temple of Lava. This Lava is a son of Ram, Lava Kush. At the Lahore fort, it is believed that the place Lahore was established by Lava. It was called as Lavapuri, and later on it became Lahore. So Lahore has a temple of Valmiki as well, the guru of Lava Kush. So this is the Lava Mandir at the Lahore fort. And this is a Krishna Mandir at Kasur. Kasur, it is believed to have been established by Kush. It was called Kushavati, and today it is called as Kasur. This is a beautiful Krishna Mandir in Punjab. Punjab is, of course, the part of Punjab in Pakistan. Another beautiful temple from Chinaut. A temple at Khakkar Mandi. This is the Kartastraj temple in Punjab. This temple has a beautiful story behind it. When Sati died, Shiva was very upset, very upset, and he was just roaming around. So he came over here at this place and he is sitting and he's crying for Sati. His tears, they just collected, and from those tears, this lake was formed. So it is called as the Kataksha lake. It is it is the lake which is filled by the uh, tears of Shiva, and it is his sorrow for Sati. So around this area, there are many temples. There are temples of Ram and Hanuman and Shiva, Parvati, and other temples as well. All of them are in a highly uh, bad state. Here is a Shivalaya at the Rohtas fort. Another Vishnu Mandir at Kahut, very beautiful and decorated with tiles, something that we wouldn't see anywhere else. Here is another Krishna Mandir. This is a temple wall from Sialkot. Just the wall remains with its quote from Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Here is a Shivalaya from Sialkot. It is called as a Shivalaya Teja Singh. It was built by Sardar Teja Singh. Here is a side view of the same temple. It's a beautiful temple, and soon after partition, this temple was locked by the Evacuee Property Trust of Pakistan, which owns all the property of the people who left Pakistan for India. So it owns all the temples and everything. Very recently, this temple was handed over to Hindus by the Imran Khan government, and at that time, yagya was conducted, and this is a photograph from that yagya. Rawalpindi has many temples. Here is one of them, the Benjamindie Temple, the silhouette in sunset. Another temple from Rawalpindi. There is a Bagh Sardaran Mandir of Rawalpindi. Bhabra Bazar Mandir. Krishna Mandir. This is possibly a Ganpati Mandir, again from Rawalpindi. In the same complex, there is a Gurudwara as well as a Raghunath Mandir. And here is a Panchayatan Mandir of Devi. Another temple from Rawalpindi, a Shiva Mandir. And with that, we come to Balochistan Mandir. This is the Hinglas Mata Mandir, and this is one of the 52 Shakti Peeth of the Devi. This is the Varun Mandir of Karachi. Varun is the god of sea, and all the Sindhi people who have been traders for a long time, they have considered Varun as their god. Even today, the motto of the Indian Navy is Shannau Varunaha. So this is the Varun temple. Very recently, it was renovated by the American Embassy. On an island in the Sindhu River, there is this Sadhu Bela, and a 6-acre area with multiple temples and a very beautiful place. Another small temple in Sindh, and this too is a Shiva Mandir in Sindh. We'll take a look at the temples of Pakistan and what happened to the temples of Pakistan after 1947. This is a Jain temple of Gujranwala, and till recently it was used as a police station. From 1947 onwards to almost, I think, 2017, it was used as a police station. And this temple has the memorial of Vijayananda Suri. Vijayananda Suri had represented Jainism at the Chicago Parliament of World Religions in 1893. So, along with Vivekananda, he was also present at that conference, and it is really interesting to note that this person came from Pakistan. Here is an old temple from the Jhelum district, and as you can see, it has been converted into a garage. The Lal Kurti Bazar temple of Rawalpindi. Since 1947, a Muslim family is occupying it. Another Rawalpindi temple, which is converted into a shop. And here is a Takshishila Temple, a very beautiful temple, but this one too has been occupied by a Muslim family. Current status, these are two news items from 2020, one from July, another one from August. The July news says that a new temple which was being built in Islamabad, a Krishna temple that was blocked by Islamists, and in Karachi, a Hanuman temple and the nearby 20 homes of Hindus were destroyed in August. So there was a survey that was carried out by Pakistan Hindu Rights Movement, and what their survey tells us is that before 1947 there were thousands of Hindu temples. When I say Hindu, it also includes the Jain and the Buddhist and the Sikh temples and Gurudwaras. So before 1947 there were thousands of temples, and 95% of these have been destroyed. Today there are only 20 active Hindu temples, only 20. Of these, 11 are in Sindh, 4 are in Punjab, 3 are in Balochistan, and 2 of them are in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. This comes from Pakistan government's report. After 1947, not even one temple was built. Not even one. Whatever temples are remaining, are standing, those which have not been destroyed, have been converted either into a masjid or a madrasa, restaurant, shops, police stations, anything. After 1992, out of 428 active temples, 408 were converted. And also after 1992, after the demolition of Babri Masjid in India, as a retaliation, almost 250 temples, this time I must say that were Hindu temples, 250 Hindu temples were destroyed. Almost 171 Gurudwara have been destroyed, or they are on the verge of breaking down. This is the current status of temples in Pakistan. Sources. I have taken many photographs by Shahid Shabir. Most of them are temples of Lahore. And most of the news is from Pakistani newspapers, surveys of PHRM, and some articles. Here is another temple from Pakistan, and I'll stop over here.